This is Mission Control Houston. You can see the wisps of vapor. That is the residual hydrogen peroxide from the fuel lines on the Soyuz spacecraft being vented. And there is the MSO-3 with Novitsky and Pesquet on board, heading toward the landing site with touchdown expected just 10 minutes from now. Everything has gone perfectly with the Soyuz's descent from orbit. Everything from the hatch closure in the wee hours this morning to the undocking that occurred at 5:47 a.m. Central Time to the deorbit burn at 8:17 a.m. Central Time. All of the entry milestones have been met for the spacecraft and its two occupants, Oleg Novitsky in the center seat as Soyuz commander. To his left, the board engineer, Thomas Pesquet of the European Space Agency. Those two wrapping up a mission of 196 days in space, 3,136 orbits spanning 82.9 million statute miles. Time to touchdown just over 9 minutes. This is Mission Control Houston, now just over 8 minutes until the expected touchdown of the Soyuz vehicle. On board the International Space Station, the Expedition 52 crew of Fyodor Yurchikhin, Peggy Whitson, and Jack Fisher. They've completed their day's work, having bid farewell to Oleg Novitsky and Thomas Pesquet. The first time that only two occupants of a Soyuz vehicle have returned to Earth since Jeff Williams and Max Sarayev completed the Expedition 21-22 mission and 169 days in space in March of 2010. This main parachute covers about 1,000 meters in area. Once it was deployed at the 15-minute mark to touchdown, it slowed the Soyuz to a descent rate of 7.2 meters per second. The Soyuz at that point was cocked at an angle of about 30 degrees to expel heat, and then shifted the Soyuz to a straight vertical descent. Just a couple of seconds before touchdown, the soft landing engines will fire in a final braking maneuver. The heat shield has been jettisoned on the Soyuz, exposing not only those soft landing engines, but the altimeter, which is calculating the altitude of the Soyuz as it descends to its landing site, some 88 miles to the southeast of the town of Zhezkazgan. The Russian Mi-8 helicopters with the search and recovery personnel as well as support personnel from NASA, the European Space Agency, and Roscosmos, all of those helicopters are flying around the landing zone, waiting for touchdown, which is expected just 5 minutes from now. Oleg Novitsky, the Soyuz commander, wrapping up his second long-duration mission on the International Space Station, and a total of 340 days in space on his 2 flights. Thomas Pesquet on this, his first flight, completing 196 days in space, 194 days for the 2 of them on board the International Space Station after they were launched last November from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. It was a 2-day rendezvous for them and Peggy Whitson. Whitson, of course, remains on board the station now as part of the Expedition 52 crew. She'll be coming home in early September with Fyodor Yurchikhin and Jack Fisher. Time to touchdown, about 3 minutes, and now you can see one of the Russian Mi-8 helicopters flying around the spacecraft. Part of the contingent of recovery forces. Right after the Soyuz touches down, those helicopters will begin to descend and land nearby the Soyuz vehicle in sequential fashion. An inflatable orange medical tent will be set up nearby, in which the 2 crew members will be carried in their chairs after they are extracted from the Soyuz spacecraft. This landing occurring just about an hour before sunset in south-central Kazakhstan. Everything continuing to go very smoothly for the return home for Oleg Novitsky and Thomas Pesquet. Two minutes until touchdown. The Soyuz spacecraft now nearing its landing site, just seconds away from touchdown. Standing by for the firing of the soft landing engines. Touchdown. The Soyuz is back on Earth with Oleg Novitsky and Thomas Pesquet. Landing occurring at 9:10 a.m. Central Time, 10:10 a.m. Eastern Time, 8:10 p.m. at the landing site in Kazakhstan. The Soyuz MSO-3 spacecraft, Oleg Novitsky and Thomas Pesquet, back on Earth after 196 days in space. This is Mission Control Houston. This view from a camera on one of the all-terrain vehicles at the landing site for the Soyuz MSO-3 spacecraft, which touched down just about 2.5 minutes ago. Again, landing occurring at 9:10 a.m. Central Time, 8:10 p.m. at the landing site in Kazakhstan. This all-terrain vehicle will move toward the spacecraft along with other members of the search and recovery team that will begin the process of extracting the crew from the spacecraft. And the reports from the search and recovery forces indicate that the Soyuz MSO-3 landed on its side, or at least was dragged by its parachutes to a horizontal position. So the vehicle on its side, and the reports are that the crew is feeling well. The search and recovery forces making their way towards the spacecraft to begin the process of extracting the crew, which will take place through one of the hatches. With only 2 crew members on board, this should not take very long, and we'll wait for the video to reassemble itself in the all-terrain vehicles in the vicinity of the spacecraft itself. As you can see, toward the horizon, one of the search and recovery helicopters, the Russian Mi-8 helicopters, landing. There are 8 of them in the prime landing zone recovery team. And again, they'll touch down in sequential fashion to begin the process of extracting the crew from the Soyuz MS-03. Continuing to watch live television from the landing site in Kazakhstan as the Russian Mi-8 helicopters with the search and recovery forces and NASA and European Space Agency personnel continue to land near the Soyuz vehicle in sequential fashion. The Soyuz landed just about 8 minutes ago at 9:10 a.m. Central Time, 8:10 p.m. at the landing site, where it will be sunset within the hour. As we mentioned a moment ago, the Soyuz is on its side and that the crew is feeling well. That was the initial report from the search and